Welcome to Tapped In. My name is Dave Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and we're going to be talking about the plateau. You can have this at any belt, but I think it occurs a lot at blue, and there's a couple of different reasons for this. But let's talk about something we've all felt, we rarely unpack, and I'm hoping that this episode kind of helps with that. It's that slow, sinking feeling that you think you're not getting any better, that you're maybe even feeling like you're regressing, and you just don't know how to, one, adapt to it, and two, frame it in a way that it's beneficial to you opposed to this weird negative that's kind of hovering over you. The plateau is often, in my opinion, a disguise, and it doesn't actually exist. If you're going to train 2 times a week, your growth is going to be a lot less than everyone else. And sometimes that's just a fact. Your life gets in the way. You got a family, you have kids, you have a spouse, maybe you're working multiple jobs. And 2 times a week is all you can get. That's fine. It's better than none. It's better than one. And every time you're on the mat is a learning experience. It's a learning possibility. You get to frame things a certain way. You get to try new things. You get to sharpen things. So I don't think that I don't think people regress at 2 times. I think sometimes we're just maintaining, or sometimes we're trying new things, or sometimes we're just having fun, which is perfectly fine. Like, we don't have to come to the to the mat every time with the idea that we're gonna get better, or that we have to get better, quote unquote, at a certain level. Just getting to the mat is huge, and you're going to get benefits from it regardless. Sometimes those benefits are just enjoyment, and we should probably put enjoyment as getting better. Like, I'm doing something I love. Why would that not be a benefit? So, defining the plateau, again, it generally happens at blue belt. It's this phase where you just don't feel like you're getting any better. It's prolonged, usually. It's something that you feel like you're coming to class, you feel like you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and you're just not progressing in the way that you wish you would. You're feeling like maybe people who are under you, and what I mean by under you is if you're a blue, some of the white belts might be getting to you. They might be sweeping you. They might be submitting you on occasion. You're not catching up to the people ahead of you. You're not, maybe you had a training partner who I've had a couple who just started training more often, and they progress in such a pace that they outpaced you, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not getting any better. But again, you're comparing yourself to someone who's training more, which isn't a fair analysis. It's not a fair way to look at things. And really, when we're looking at that plateau of blue belt, you're comparing it to the rate of success or the rate of growth that you had at white, which I don't think is a fair analysis. I don't think it's a fair comparison. At white belt, you literally don't know anything. You're going from 0 to whatever the bucket is at white belt, and that is so fast and exponential and so hurried because you didn't know anything that it's really noticeable. You'll notice just by watching your videos or watching, um, or just like comparing yourself, you'll feel it. It's going to be huge. It's a big growth from 0 to year 1, year 2. Year 3 and 4 are harder to notice because you're no longer filling the bucket at that rate. You go from filling it with knowledge, let's call that like technique. The number of techniques that you can learn that are brand new to you goes lower at that rate. And it really becomes more about the other things that go with jiu-jitsu. The things like that we just don't see, the timing, the way you play defense, your reaction speed, energy conservation. These are things that you can't quite quantify when you're comparing your skill set or skill level with other people. It's really hard to compare someone's timing from what it was to what is now, because oftentimes we're looking at, I keep getting submitted, and you're not looking at, well, my timing's a lot better, but I still get submitted. That's fine. Like, my defense is getting better. Yes, I'm still getting submitted, but it's taking them longer. They're not submitting me as long as often. I'm able to defend against people who couldn't defend against before. But sometimes our goals are so oriented in black and white of like win or lose, sub or get subbed. And that's not a great way to look at any of this stuff. It really needs to be, how am I doing today versus a couple weeks ago? What techniques am I maybe hitting now that I wasn't hitting before? What sweeps am I able to engage and initiate that I couldn't even start at one point? How am I responding to when I'm swept? Like, am I just falling on my back and playing defense? Or am I trying to get back up? Like, these are all categories that we sometimes ignore because they're not as black and white. They're really transitional. It's this weird gray area of improvement that we can kind of miss because, again, we're looking at, I keep getting submitted. And yes, you're going to. That's not the end all be all. It really needs to be about those smaller intangible things that we sometimes forget because they feel invisible that we really need to focus on. And that will get you through from your quote unquote plateau until you can break past it, at least in your eyes. Energy conservation is a huge one. It's one that if I can get a student to understand how to conserve their energy, everything else shifts. If I can get a student to kind of say, I'm not going to go 100% here, I'm going to dial it back. I'm going to save my energy. I'm going to frame. I'm going to create a better defensive position. And then when it's time to, then I hit that gas. Like if I can get them to understand that, some of the other things improve. The other things that I like to kind of highlight when we are dealing with plateaus is blue belt specifically. You're probably adding some new techniques. You're probably adding things that you weren't doing at white belt. And when you add those things, you, in essence, are starting from zero again, at least in that position with that technique. So to think that you're going to be doing it at a blue belt level because you just added it and you're now a blue belt doesn't work. You're a blue belt who's adding a new technique. So sometimes your technique is going to be so shitty that the white belts are going to pass your guard. And it's okay. Like it's part of the building blocks. You're collecting data, and the more data you can collect and mine through, the better you'll be on the back end. Oftentimes your nervous system is adapting. And that's something that you can't grade at all. Sometimes I'll have people who come in and they're trauma survivors or they have issues being on bottom for whatever reason. Sometimes they have maybe old injuries that they're nursing and it psychologically it's difficult to deal with in certain positions. And that nervous system adapting is a growth that you can't measure. It's a growth that you're not putting into the equation of how you're getting better because it's not something that you can equate to that your instructor can see. To you, it's just, again, black or white. Did I get submitted? Did I submit someone? So it's hard to like, well, I'm being calm now. That's a plus because it's not something we discuss. It's not something that we talk about all that often. My heart isn't racing as much as it used to when I would go against a higher belt. If you're a woman and you've gone through some things, I'm feeling more comfortable sparring with guys. I'm feeling more comfortable being in bad, weird positions with the guys. I'm not panicking. Like that's growth. And it's a disservice for us to negate or throw those growth moments out because we didn't submit someone. Additionally, I would add, let's start doing some reflection. I think because all the things that I mentioned aren't necessarily things you can tally up on a grading sheet. They're not things your professor is going to necessarily notice. They're things that you're going to notice. That maybe you should start doing some reflection after each round, maybe not round, but after each day. Get a journal. They got a bunch all over the place. You can get a regular composition journal or you can get a jiu-jitsu specific one, electronic or otherwise. I recommend physical. Sometimes these electronic jiu-jitsu journals go out of business and you lose all that data. So if you're going to go this route, I highly recommend getting a journal of some kind. You can find them on Amazon or wherever. And I would write out what I'm feeling after each round. Write out things that you did really well. Write out things that you feel that you need to fix or that you missed. Write out how you were feeling. I think that emotions are a great form of analysis, and they're a big ingredient to success and failure. And if you're always down about yourself and always pointing out that you missed something or you failed at something, but then you notice a few months later in your journal that your emotional responses are a little more positive, that's a plus. That's growth. You're adapting to the sport you're in. You're adapting to the things that maybe you're carrying from past relationships, childhood, what you feel is a deficit to your personality or who you are, mental illness, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. That time that you spend writing it and giving it some analysis and breathing room and in-depth review is really going to help you. And you'll start to notice the small changes in you that you can't see day to day, because now you're reading the thoughts of a past you versus the current you. The plateau doesn't look so even anymore. Sometimes now it starts to look more of a learned curve moving upward. And sometimes that that upward trajectory sometimes takes a step back. You get injured and you're not growing as much technically, but maybe you're growing in other things, in the way you teach, the way you mentor someone, the way you helped a white belt get better at a technique because you were injured and you couldn't train, so you maybe took someone under your belt. Those things matter and those things count too. And I think it's a disservice to us to just ignore those things. And the other thing I would highly recommend, get out and record your rounds. I understand some gyms don't allow it and some gyms don't. They don't want to see 12 camera setups. I get it. In the morning class, I don't care what they do when it comes to the recording. They could set up 50 of them if they wanted to. I don't give a shit. It's not on the mat. If it's going to help them grow, I'm fine with it. What I learned from recording my rounds over, I want to say 11 years, was that whenever I took some time to look back, I can genuinely see the genuine growth. I can see, oh, I'm not responding to the bait like I used to. Oh, my technique is cleaner when I'm passing the guard. My balance is better. I don't get as tired. Like all these things that, again, that you're really going to miss. You're not going to see them. You're not going to feel them. You're not going to recognize them without some kind of reference point, whether it's a journal or video actually depicting how you roll. There were times when I remember I would get frustrated at certain things and I can see it in the video. And then I would watch more recent videos and I wasn't doing that anymore. I was responding to the issue, not the emotional connection to the issue. Those things are going to be massive and they're going to be helpful and they're going to put things into perspective for you that you're not going to get otherwise. I would also recommend get a mentor. Get someone who you trust so you can have conversations with, someone who is kind, has some emotional intelligence, someone who will give you some feedback honestly. And sometimes that feedback isn't fun to hear, but it's needed, but it's presented to you in a respectful way and you can take it and you could give it some time to breathe and really take it to heart. That's huge. Like that mentor aspect, I don't necessarily have one now, but coming up, I had one or two and they were great for me. They were people who held me accountable and people who allowed me to make mistakes and just kind of gave me some feedback and be like, hey, you need help here. I need you to do this differently. Maybe we do this instead or that. It saves you a lot of time. Oftentimes they'll actually keep you grounded in what you're supposed to be doing instead of feeling necessarily sorry for yourself because you feel like you're in this weird plateau. So again, journal, record your rounds, get a mentor, and try to keep things into perspective. My opinion, plateaus do not exist. If you're coming to class regularly, if you're coming to class and you're training and you're learning and you're putting things into practice, there is no plateau. It just feels like it. You also have to recognize that everyone else is also getting better. And that's the hardest part. If you've ever watched the Olympics, when they do rowing and they have that side by side angle, and you can't really see the outlet, like the nature or the bigger picture. All you see is the water and the two boats, and they're kind of like rowing, and one gets further, and then the other one gets a little further, and they keep going back and forth. And the camera is so tight on that angle that you don't see how long it's been since they started, and you can't see where the finish line is. That's jujitsu. And you and your partners are going to go back and forth. And sometimes they're going to get ahead of you. And then you're going to be focused on why they're so far ahead of you. And you're going to think you're at plateau because you think you're not moving forward. But then you zoom back and you see how far you've gotten from where you started, and it puts things back into perspective. The entire time you're learning, you're both moving. You and your partners are all moving. You're all moving towards the same direction with different games, but same direction. There's no way you're not moving too. They might just move ahead of you a little bit. I had a training partner who we used to go get at it. We were back and forth. I used to get him sometimes, he used to get me sometimes, and then he upped his game and started training more often. And I was a hobbyist and could only get in 3, maybe 4 times a week. And that depth was immense. He created such a gap between us. I couldn't touch him anymore. But I understood that I wasn't at a plateau or I wasn't regressing. He was just getting that much better because he was putting more time on the mats. And that's okay. I'm at a black belt level now. Took me a little bit longer, but I'm fine with that because that was my journey. The path you're on is yours and only yours. No two paths are ever going to be the same. Understand it, embrace it, don't get down about it, just enjoy it. There's nothing like jujitsu, and there's nothing like building yourself up, doing a sport or an art that you love. That everything else is secondary. Just enjoy what you're doing. If you have any questions, you want to hit me up, maybe you need some advice, dfm.2099 on Instagram or Threads. If you want to work with me, maybe some workshops, private lessons, seminars, you can hit me up at dfmcoaching.com. Also, I'm doing a Kimura seminar at Five Peaks here in San Diego. $30 to get in. It's an hour and a half, followed by an hour of open mat. We're trying to raise money for a family whose child is going through open heart surgery. So if you want to donate, want to learn some cool Kimura techniques, Kimura is my shit, please come out. If for some reason you want to support, but maybe you can't make it, there is a GoFundMe, a link in my bio, or it's part of my stories. Please reach out. It'd be a huge blessing for me if anyone came out or supported. It's a great cause. Again, thank you for listening. Any support is great support, and I'm thankful for it. Thank you.